Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And today we are actually going to go ahead and texture this model of AK117 that I've made. Uh, I'll still rate it as a legendary gun and not a mythic one because I still don't think that it is as good as a mythic weapon, right? But just to go ahead and give credit where it's due, I got this idea from one of you actually who pinged me on Instagram and suggested me to make something like this. I'm not sure if I was able to uh, make it as good as what you expected, but I really hope that you like what I made, right? So I'll just be showing their name on the screen right now. Maybe send this model out to you as well. So if you want this model, just ping me your email address and I'll send it out to you, the Blender file and everything. So on that note, if you guys have any similar ideas that you would like me to give it a try, please, just go ahead and send me your ideas on Instagram. I'm gonna link that down in the description of this video. And also, if I think that it's something worth making, then we can give it a try and see if we can bring it to life. Right. Anyways, on a small note, I'm gonna stop making or stop adding the parts where I actually create those 3D models because, well, I've looked at the watch time and none of you are actually interested in looking at me making the models. We'll start from this step going forward, where I make the model and we just get together in a video and just try and make it a little bit more pretty. And yeah, well, on that note, why don't we get started? So let's get right into it. Okay, so to begin with, I already went ahead and assigned the textures where they were supposed to be assigned, and as you can see that there are different textures assigned to different uh, places in this model, right? And I just named them as well just to make sure that I have a clear understanding about what texture I'm making. Because as you can see, there are just way too many parts over here, right? So uh, the very first thing that we are actually going to texture or color is basically this dragon's face, right? So in order to do that, the first thing that we're going to do is we'll be creating scales or adding a texture, a scale texture, metallic scale texture that I got from 3dtextures.me. I'm going to link that site down below. These are available for free for you to download. So you can just go ahead and take a look at that if, in case you guys want to try it yourself. But yeah, I've already downloaded them. And to add it in here, first of all, we'll add a principal BSDF and go ahead and add it to the surface. So this is the basic texture that you get as soon as you add a texture, right? As you can see, it's all blank, and that's because it literally doesn't have any texture in it. So it's just dark black because I just deleted everything. So let's add a principal BSDF here. The second thing that we're going to add is we'll go to textures, then image texture, because we downloaded an image of the textures that we want, and we're going to use this setup to actually apply those textures here, right? So let's open, let's go to where I've saved the textures. So I'm just going to go to textures, uh, metal dragon skills, no, not this one. I think this is the one. So we're going to go ahead and bring in the roughness map first, and just make sure that anything that is not going into the base color is always non-color data, right? So I'm going to keep it to non-color and just take the color from here and put it in roughness, right? As soon as I do that, it already got applied, but you can't see it, and that's because there's no color there. So we're going to go ahead and hit Control T. Uh, just make sure that before you do that, you have the Node Wrangler add-on installed. All you have to do is go to add-ons, go to Node Wrangler, just type Node, and it comes up. Just make sure that it's enabled, and hit Control T, and it comes up. Now for this one, we're going to go ahead and use the UV map. So not the object coordinate like we used to do in the past, but since it's an image texture, a UV map works best. So take the UV input and put it in the vector. Now just make sure that you're taking care of one step before you even do this, is that you go to edit mode, hit A to select all, and then right click, sorry, not right click, press U to unwrap, and just click on Smart UV Project and hit OK. This is to make sure that your textures are not getting stretched unevenly, right? So just to make sure that we are unwrapping things quickly, and this is the fastest way to do that. If you want to do it manually, it just takes way lot longer than you would want to spend. So once we are done with this, I'm just going to duplicate it by Shift D. Now let's bring in the metallic map. So I'll click on metallic. I'll take this and put it in my metallic texture. Right. So once that is done, so you can already see that the scales are showing up. Right. I'm just going to increase the amount to like 4, just to make sure that we have a lot of scales on his face. I just don't need 4 or 5 like it was showing up before, right? So let's do that now. Okay, and yeah, let's make sure that this vector input is also applied over here, because this vector actually controls the scale, right? So this mapping node actually controls the scale and everything, scale, position, and everything for this texture. So we're just going to use the same thing everywhere, and just make sure it's connected to all the image textures that you're going to bring in. So once that is done, Shift T again. Now the next thing we'll bring in is the height map, right? So let's bring that in. And before we apply it, I will need another node, and that's the bump node, because height map is actually going to be used to create the illusion of those scales, right? So we'll go ahead and add this here and take the normal and plug it into the normal. And yeah, as you can see, it's already applying those textures over here, right? You can already feel that there are bumps. Just make sure it's evenly applied. So take that vector, add it to the vector. Now it just looks awesome. Next thing we're going to do is bring in the normal map. Now, before we do that, we'll also need another node, and that's the normal map node. We'll take the normal and plug it into the normal, and just duplicate the image texture here, and let's go ahead and bring in the normal map here and plug the color into the color. And as soon as I do that, it just becomes a little bit more defined as once we do that, right? So also let's take the vector and plug it into the vector once again. All right, this looks good, but I don't want the scales to be so bright, so I'm just going to bring this down a little bit. All right, I think I'm happy with this. So let's go ahead and apply the same thing over here. Yep. Okay, so the dragon's face is done. And the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and what do you say? Color the eye of the dragon so that we can see something, right? So over here I used an emission texture. It was just simply shader emission, and we'll just go ahead and plug this in into the surface for now. We're gonna do a few things with it just to make sure that it's animated and looking good. That we'll do it a little bit later, right? Not right now. So let's just leave it at this. The next thing that we are actually going to work on is, first of all, let's go ahead and apply that dragon scale that we just created. Actually, I don't want to apply the same thing, so I'm just going to duplicate that and just basically use it over here, right? So it's so you can see it's already applied to this entire mesh, and yeah, let's add this over here too. Cool, this looks reasonable. Now let's go ahead and add this over here as well, and over here, and on this object as well. Okay, so we've got the basic thing ready. Now the magazine, I just created a basic texture, so there is not a lot going on here. So what I did is I just went to shader, went to principal BSDF, and just took that and added it to the surface, and just reduced the color and increased the metallic and specular, and I brought it down to 0.2, and that's about it. Okay, so the next texture that we are actually going to create is going to be a little bit tricky, right? And yeah, so it's like I've named it Edge Glow. It's because how it's going to work is that it's going to go ahead and apply emission or apply the glow only to the edges of your object, right? So basically, if you move it around, the glow moves with it. Let me show you so that it will make more sense. So before we do that, the first thing we do is we add a principal BSDF, and also we're going to go ahead and add an emission shader in this, right? And since we are using two different shaders, we have to make sure that we also have a mix shader in there. So let's bring in the mix shader. Let's plug the shader into the surface. Take the emission shader, plug it in into the first section. Take the principal BSDF and plug it into the second section of it, right? So what it's basically doing is that it's mixing both of these shaders 50-50 right now, but we don't want that. So the very first thing I'll do is I'll make it a metallic texture like we did for the magazine. And just bring down the roughness to 0.2. Yep. Now I don't want the shader to be applied to the entire thing. I just want it to be applied to the edges, right? So for that, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and add a color ramp. So let's bring in a color ramp. Let's plug this into the factor. And then the next thing we'll do is we'll bring in a layer weight node. Now this node is what is going to help us to actually achieve that, right? So we'll take the facing and put it into the factor. I know it's still not doing a lot, and to achieve that, we'll have to just first flip the color ramp. And can you see it's already giving you that look, and it changes. It's already changing when you're moving your camera or your viewport. So just to make sure that it's only being applied to the edges, just gonna drag the color ramp somewhere over here. Let's make it a little bit more brighter. Let's bring both of these closer. Now, as you can see, it's already giving you the look that you wanted. And yeah, if you can see it like this, it's automatically glowing everything, right? So it's a very good look for a gun that you are actually going to use to aim down the sight, right? So it will just be glowing the edges at the side, but as soon as you aim down the side, both of your corners are going to glow, which is a pretty cool look as for me. So let's bring it to 0.4, and I think this is good enough. So let's add a few more details to it, right? So we are pretty much done for our texturing piece, but we're gonna make sure that we have a little bit more details to what we show here. So let's first increase the emission to about 20. Yeah, this looks good. Now we are going to go ahead and add another color ramp here. Let's add the color into the color. And the next thing we'll do is we'll add a texture and a gradient texture, right? So we'll take the color, add it into the factor, okay? And then hit Control T once again. and use the UV map over here too, just in case. Okay, so now we have to add so the reason I use the gradient texture, right, is so that it gives us the ability to add multiple colors in our view. So right now it's just white, but I don't want white, so let's change it to somewhat red, right? Now let's add another color and give it a little bit of an orangish look. Now you can see that there are two colors in the mix already, but we can add more. So let's add a yellowish color in here. Let's make it a little bit brighter, and the orange one too. We'll just make it a little brighter. Yeah, this looks pretty good. I can add more colors if you want. Like, if you can add 20 different colors if you want. That's what the beauty of the gradient texture is, right? So basically, this should work just fine. And now I'll tell you why we didn't do a lot we didn't do a lot when we actually made that glow that was placed in the eye of this dragon, right? So the reason was that we were going to go ahead and do create a gradient texture for this piece over here already, so we can use the same nodes that we used here into this texture, just to make sure that we have that evenness, right? So once I've created that texture, I'm just gonna go ahead and copy the nodes till here. So copy, let's come back to this texture and paste them here, and we'll take the color and plug it into the color. Okay, this doesn't look right. Let's delete it. I don't know what got copied. So let's go back. Let's copy it again. Okay. All right. Now it's the right one. Let's take the color, plug it into the color, and as you can see, it's already applied, right? Now I don't want this black here because it's just looking weird, so I'm just going to change it to a different color. Let's say go with dark red, and let's bring this a little bit onto the side. Yeah, it's pretty cool. As you can see, as soon as you turn your gun like into a different view, it all starts glowing and just gives that amazing look to it, right? Now this thing, I think I already made something that I can use here. I'll just use the magazine material that I created. So yeah, I think most of our texturing is done, and I've already animated it. So if you can see here, it's already have some movement in there, right? And it just looks pretty cool. So I'm just gonna go ahead and what do you say? Render this out. It's still too bright, so let's bring this down a little bit more. Let's go down to the rendered view. Yeah, it just looks awful. Let's go back to our light. There's the light. Let's bring this down. And this is the reason I used a different texture here, is because it's pretty small for the body. So for the body, we're just gonna go ahead and increase it, increase the scale to 2, which looks cool. And for this one, I'm just gonna make it 3. Just to, yeah, just so that it looks a little bit more cooler. I think the light is still too bright, so I'm just gonna bring it down to about 500. Hope that works. And let's unhide this too. Yep. So I think that's about it for this video. This is all we need to do to achieve this, right? So I'm just gonna go ahead and play the final animation for you guys. It took about an hour for me to render, because we can render this in Eevee and we don't need to engage cycles for it. So just gonna play that. If you guys do like this video, make sure that you don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Don't forget to share if you want to do that. And yeah, I hope to see you guys in the next video. So thank you so much for hanging out so long, and have a nice day.
I've been up for 3 nights. My eyes are bloodshot red. Damn, I wanna see the sunshine. It's getting to my head. One look in the mirror, don't like what I find. I know that somewhere in there there's a good